we back. This might be risky. DJ Ham the Stampede.
DJ Ham the Stampede.
Again, we in the building. Another Wednesday. Everybody looks amazing tonight. Good, good. If you muted, you can nod your head so you can hear me. Awesome. All right, gonna let people trickle in a little bit. Like, share, subscribe. Also, when you subscribe, hit the bell so you can get the notifications for when we go live, when new videos are set. Because we release content every day aside from the live stream. We'll break it down, give you like some, highlights. We'll give you the final thoughts on their own. The other exclusive content we come up with. Also, follow us on Anchor. I'll put it down at the bottom because I didn't memorize the link yet. And then the Spotify got 1,000 numbers in it, so I'll put that down on the bottom as well. And it's also in the description if you watch live on YouTube. Also, if you're on the YouTube, you can interact. So as you guys see, I share comments and such. And so comments that make sense, we'll put them up here. Comments that are trash, we'll also put them up here, and you probably get one of these.
Get them out of here.
But at least it's participation. All right. First topic, we're going to start with the video. Let me show you guys this. All right. So now, if you haven't seen this video, it's bananas. So here we go. So this is a pastor. He has books, everything, right? Really popular, right? You can even see from his set, when they make it big, they start to have, great cameras and different angles and such.
Come on, man. Is he supposed to be blessing or anointing him or something?
Yeah, there's no volume, so we can't really get the context of the video.
Okay. I wish somebody would have said that earlier. So what he's saying is he's talking to him, right? And he's talking about when you receive a vision, you might hear the nasty before you actually experience the nasty. So he was hawking up. Did you guys see his mannerism?
Yeah.
Hawking up the spit in order to like get it. You see how much spit came out that nigga mouth? And then he did it again. So he's just kind of prefacing that what you have to go through on the other side is a blessing. Nasty before you experience that blessing. All right. So
check for the sound if you're gonna play it again.
Yeah. Let me see real quick. You guys can still see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like suspenseful and shit. Let me see something. Okay, it should be working. One second. One second. Let me do this real quick. Share. All right, one more time. This is worth. crazy. Let me know if you guys can hear it. I can hear it.
Word.
It's giving very much mine.
Still no sound, huh?
All right. 1 second. I'm gonna fix it. No, I did do a fucking sound check for the video, asshole.
I mean, if it don't work, it don't work.
It be your own goddamn people, boy. All right, hold on. I'm gonna fix it. Oh, God damn it.
It seems like you were enjoying it in your headphones though, because you were hitting all
Yeah,
the
I'm laughing shit. I'm thinking y'all can hear it.
Yeah, good time with it.
Man, fact. All right, hold on. I'm glad the viewers are sticking with me and not making comments. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all.
They
Nah, make the
probably checking
comment.
their own sound.
Make sure y'all got headphones.
They
They
probably just
just giving the
looking at
video its
me.
own content.
They just looking at me laughing at this shit. All right, hold on. All right.
I did see this video earlier in the week, so I know how it goes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
That's a crazy search. Still no sound.
Okay.
Moving right along. Can I get a
Yeah, you
synopsis?
gotta clear your cookies.
Yeah.
Nah, like that. I'm gonna get this motherfucker to work. But you know what the hell with it? I'll just commentate while y'all watch this shit. All right. Improvisation. And the viewers is growing, so I appreciate the viewers. Some of y'all motherfuckers might be missing next week. All right. All right. All right. So you can see the imagery, right? At the very least. So here goes the good part.
Does it have subtitles?
No.
The fact that he's walking
Oh,
with
come
it in
on,
his
man.
hand,
Look at his
that's
face.
disgusting.
No, that's wild, Joe.
Look at
Oh, it's just nasty.
In our times of COVID and before COVID.
So
Yeah,
this
no
is definitely times of COVID. Now when people start saying "ew," the hell with that, he's like, do you see the responses of the people? Right? As though they not supposed to be grossed out or some shit.
Right.
How much he paid this nigga to stand up there and wipe spit on his face?
Not enough.
That's crazy.
So what he is saying is, you have to be able to stick through whatever your hardship is to follow the blessing. Was that the message that he was trying to give?
Yep. So what happens is he's saying it's gonna get hard and it's gonna get nasty, right? And people are gonna react like, "Why are you doing that? That's terrible. Don't go through all through that," because they can't see the blessing that you're gonna receive through all the nastiness.
I don't want it.
Mm-mm.
Unbless me.
All right.
He was doing it for shock factor. Like that's nasty.
No.
So
I'd have
he
punched him in
later
the
on.
face, That's crazy.
So he later apologized, but that's something you're gonna have to walk back because it's foolish.
Mm-hmm.
So direction CYOP said the pastor should have had his teeth left at the altar.
Facts.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Facts.
Yes.
Not one piece of disagreement over here.
Okay.
Not needed.
Crazy. So what you think, Sean?
First of all, that's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. The fact that he held spit in his own hand while he's talking to other people is part one ridiculous. Part two ridiculous that is another grown man let him wipe spit on his face. Come on, man. I don't even know what to say about that, man. That's crazy. Spit pastor. That's crazy.
Spit pastor.
I don't even know what to say about that. It ain't no way nobody should be allowing somebody to put spit on their face. You shouldn't even want to put spit in your hand. The fact that he put spit in his hand that was holding a conversation with the audience or the congregation is ridiculous, man.
Like I have so many questions though.
Like his antics were louder than what the message was supposed to be. Like that's disgusting. Like for what?
And how intelligent is your flock? Like
Right.
you went down to the basics of spit. Like are the people that follow you dumb? Are you dumb?
So
that was mucus.
Right,
that
so
wasn't even spit.
I know.
Yeah, he hawked it up. So when he uses it, as soon as they laugh against him, he's like, so you see how you all reacted? This is how people are gonna react when they can't see through the go through of your blessings. Right? But he didn't really they didn't applaud and clap like, oh shit, Pastor spun it. Them motherfuckers, nah, Pastor, you bugging. Like you could tell, like it wasn't there.
There was a lot of gasp in the audience.
Yeah, mad gasp. So Alex, what Alex said was it blocked the message. It was a message was Q. What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree. I'm still trying to process it. So
why your face? You
I can't even swallow.
I mean, yeah, I totally would have missed the message. Like, the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm still sitting there like, did he really just do that? So fuck the message. Like, if you wanted to give the message, you should have just gave the message. That's what you have a platform for. That's what there's microphone for. You know what I'm saying? Like that just was too much.
Yeah.
Adrian,
what are your thoughts after viewing that? What do you think?
Yeah, I would have punched him in his face, y'all. Like I'd have slapped my own daughter. Like nobody not about to be putting no spit on my face, man. Like that's crazy. But I think that's what these pastors do, and like people, period. They always trying to come up with like the next thing or to try to shock people when like the message will take care of itself. It don't even need all of that. So I don't know if he ran that by his team first, like who co-signed that with him. Like if you got that type of platform, you need to have people around you who you can talk to before you just go do anything. Yeah, he should have been on the floor. That's crazy, yo. That's crazy.
Well, people would die for their pastors. You know how people are about their pastors, and I think you could tell. Like Jim Jones and shit. I think you can tell like the guy knew what was coming though. Like I think he signed up for that, right? But when that spit got on, did you see the drip from his lip to and he pulled the shit off?
We saw.
Yeah, we saw. You don't have to.
Nah. Y'all motherfuckers was clowning about the sound. Yeah. Now y'all don't want the illustration.
That's what he peeled spit. I thought he took gum out his mouth. He peeled spit off his face.
No, that was gum. What the fuck he chewing gum at?
Mucus membrane. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't spit.
But why you let him rub it in and then try to peel it off? I don't understand.
So the fact that you saw him peel it means it shows how thick of mucus. It wasn't spit. It was mucus. That came from down here.
That's an agreement they made before they came out behind the curtains, right? They made that agreement together.
How many millions? Because if it's not talking millions, I'm not doing it. And I mean like smooth 20 plus.
But to Adrian's point, no, I was just saying to Adrian's point, to me, it just looks like he was looking for his next moment. To me, when I see that gives me the vibes that you might have been losing traction. You might have been, people weren't talking about you anymore. So you had to do something wild and crazy to go ahead and get people to pay attention. Like, I'm not hearing nothing you say after that you spit, but apparently he has done a lot of wild antics before, but this has been the most turned up one.
Right. From what I heard is that he's not even technically a pastor. Like he didn't go through whatever it is that you need to go through to become a pastor.
He's not
I think
ordained.
at this point, I think it was just a matter of when somebody gets that many followers, sometimes you just want to see how far you can go with your power. And I think that goes to talk about what we were talking about last week about um, do people just follow religion blindly? Like people were he just blindly went up there and whatever this guy said or whatever he was able to do, because in the name of the Lord, he was willing to deal with it. And it's just such a dangerous game to play, especially this is a grown man. So imagine the children that might be following, right? Like this is how kids end up being molested and stuff like that because they're just following these fools blindly and allowing them to do anything. This grown man sat up there and was willing to follow this man and allow him to put a loogie on his damn eyes.
It's very cultish.
And was okay with that. Black people have to stop following religion blindly.
Say it again.
So
say it again. No, seriously, say it again.
Yeah, Black people need to stop following religion blindly.
For the people in the back,
yeah.
Right? And they're like, you pay this $20 and you get this holy water, and everybody's standing in a circle jumping up and down. I was cured and I drank the holy water, I ordered it, and I paid all my bills. Like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Shout out to the 700 Club.
Well, that's why
I like next week he's not gonna go up there and unzip his pants and be like, well, if you want this blessing, you know, this
actually
is what it takes.
Have you seen that video though? There was a pastor that was like,
yeah, I was about to say that.
Had the people touch his penis or like suck his dick or whatever. Talking about it's gonna bless
that
you.
happens in congregations all the time. So this is the first step, and then the next step, this man gonna be up there on his knee. Like, you got to draw the line.
That's why I like to ask if religion is a cult, because even when you think about, you know, some of the stuff that's happened with some other religions, like the Muslim religion and people dying in the name of Allah and all of that, it's not to knock anybody's religion, but all religions, like at what point does it become evil? Like, where's the cutoff?
We can respond. You want to chime in? Because you say, yeah, but when Poop was going about pastor having people suck and all that.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Adrian.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying, but still, like for him, I don't really listen to him that much, but I have heard some good content that he has put out, and he is elevating and growing fast. And so a lot of times, you know, you're going to make mistakes too. So I'm not going to say, oh, just because he did that, everything he did is like wrong, or he's automatically like super religious. Like, again, I don't know enough about him to really speak on it, but I do know, you know, with growth and as platforms, you know, do grow, you have outside influences and things like that. And a lot of it is a learning experience. So his heart could have definitely been in the right place. And I don't think that necessarily makes him like evil or like false religious or something like that, you know? So
yeah. But things like that, right, is what give it a bad rap when you're cult. Just to add to that, so the NL third or fourth most popular Bible, right? And so if you read Acts 24 and 14, it says, Paul says, I follow what they call a cult, right? So NLT is very popular, and Paul is probably the most popular prophet or apostle for Christians specifically. And he literally says, I follow what they call a cult, just to add some more, you know, from the book itself. So, you know, is it a cult? Is the word cult even a bad word?
Cult by definition is religious. There's a negative connotation with cult, and there's a homonym used as negative, but by definition, it's religion.
I think
a system of religious. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's a scary thing to think that there are some people who, in this world that we have seen, where they could literally say the most, in the snap of a finger, they say this and people just follow them. Like, there's no thought. Like, I think about Trump. I think about Hitler. Like, they were able to change the course of history with just some of their words to people, and people just followed them blindly, like turning on your neighbors who you've known all your life, who you've been in business with, and all of a sudden, because this particular individual comes into power, and now it's no, I'm following them, this is what they said. And back to the small mention that we said of Jim Jones, like, this random man comes out of anywhere, and then y'all are following, leaving the States, and y'all are going over to Guyana, and you go over there, and he's telling you this is a mass suicide, and like there was no backbone, there was nothing for them to say, like, nah, like this isn't okay.
But I think also to that point, as well as like when we're trying to like determine what's evil, when does religion become evil, right? I want to say all, if not most, or most if not all, religions have had some type of war, right? For Christianity, for the Catholic Church, it was the Inquisition. We went in countries, we said, you're Catholic, if you're not Catholic, we're gonna kill you. In Islam, you have different sects. You have Islamic extremists. Like, all of Islam is not bad. You have the ones that take their sect and that's what they do. Cool. Every religion has one. So at what point does it become evil? I think it's when you start to do harm to others. Because again, if we go back, it's do unto others as you want, done to you, or however that saying goes. So the minute you start harming somebody, you're looking to do something with malicious intent, that's evil. I don't care what religion it is. Now, I think something we also talked about in a previous episode, a couple of previous episodes, is like, these are vulnerable people that end up following these new prophets, or the new thing to do, right? They're vulnerable. Trump spoke to the impoverished. I got a neighbor that lives down the street, drives an old beat up Hyundai, but is MAGA all the way down. Sir, you will never be on par with that person. Most of the Trump supporters will never be on par financially with what Trump represents. They don't care. He speaks to the ignorance of what they like, their everyday struggles. Same thing with Hitler. And that's what makes it, I think that's more dangerous. So when you speak to those people, or you have people that are that far dissociated or, outcast from society, that they don't have anything else to cling on but extreme thoughts to make them feel better, to bring them back into the fold. That is something that has to be addressed. That's not something we can just ignore and say, well, we're going to fix everything else, because you're never going to get to the root of the problem, which is you have these people that are so far removed, and there's nothing that's bringing them back into the fold other than these thoughts to harm somebody else.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's not necessarily religion, but the abuse of power, right? So the religion might not necessarily be the issue, but it's the people that are trying to give the message, because we know that religion is the biggest hustle. So we know that because people cling on to religion for hope, I could get up here and then read the Bible, study it a little bit, and I could sell these people whatever it is that I could, and hustle them out of money. Religion is a hustle, or people use it as a hustle. So the religion aspect gets so lost and diluted because so many people use their position of power to dilute that and to take advantage of people, right? Because that people are going to lead religion blindly. Religion is a belief. We don't know that it's a real thing. We just believe that it is. Whatever God you believe in, it's just a belief. We don't know. So if we could just sell them, intertwine that with a load of bullshit, get them, you could scam people into money, scam them into slap and spit on their face, scam them into doing whatever else, touching their kids is a scam. So, and I think that's why you're seeing a spike in, atheists and agnostic people. They're stepping away from religion, not because of the religion, but because of all the antics like we just saw in that video.
Yeah, to your point, Slim and P, religion takes a turn when it's radicalized. And I'm a veteran, former military member who I studied a lot because I really couldn't understand. I grew up with Muslims, right? My uncles are Muslims and everything. I couldn't understand why they took Islam and radicalized it, and where they pieced what they wanted to from. But I mean, technically, you have radical people who could take the Bible and do the same thing. So religion takes a turn when somebody decides to radicalize and, specifies a minority from with the gory details and live it in today's time, right? And to your other point, P, about it's like a mob mentality. Hitler, Jim Jones, everybody, all of those, Donald Trump, all of those people propagandize the impoverished, and put them on a pedestal to say, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it really empowers people who've never had a voice for themselves in the large community. So then you get the mob swaying on your side. You can go back to the Salem witch trials. They was literally burning women and hanging women because they thought they was witches. You know what I mean? You get enough people to convince to believe one thing, good, bad, or indifferent, you can sway millions.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
true.
I think that's true. I think it's unfortunate that it's been perverse because if the truth was told, some things like we even say up here, we may not be saying, right? Like the Bible does speak about revenge, right? And recompense to those that trouble you. And the only way you undefile the land is spill the blood that defiled it in the first place. But even when you read it like that, people say, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know, when you I got some crackling. Mute your if you're not on. So it does say, and now, like when you actually read it, people are saying no, that's not true, regardless of what they're rating. So it's hard, like either way, you know. Um, so any final thoughts on the spit pastor?
No, do
No,
that shit again.
Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
yeah, that shit is
Yeah,
he's bugging.
absolutely
Pastor,
disgusting.
yeah, he on his Sierra shit. Instead of twerking, he rubbing spit to stay relevant. I think
Shut
that
up,
was a
fool.
good point. I think that was
Yeah.
a good point that somebody made. So shout out to that. All right. Um. Just kind of like want to segue into it so time together makes sense. The Bible actually says that you will pay for the sins of your father. There's a bunch of verses that say things similar to that. That you reap what you sow, and people regenerate, and then you will pay for what other people did, or you come back as the same type of person, ended up paying for the sins in which you committed. So with that being topics together, are general curses real, and if so, how do we overcome them? Are generational curses real, and if so, how do we overcome them? Alex, we'll start with you.
I think they are. I think the first thing to overcome it, and I think overcoming it is very different for everyone, but I think the first thing is to recognize that there's a pattern of something going on.
You muted.
Sorry. No, I was saying I think the first thing is to recognize that there's a pattern and you have to want to break the said generational curse. I know for me in my life, I've noticed that there are certain things that have been historical within my family, and I had to make the decision. I had to recognize it first, and I had to make the decision to want to change it, to want to be a little bit better. And then hopefully, my children and their children will do a little bit better than what I can. But I definitely think it's real, and I definitely see it for us in the Black community, more specifically.
Question: do you think so? It's and somebody can give me the correct terminology, but you know how they say, from slavery we have like some genetic traits or some genetic traits that were passed down from what we went through in slavery, right? So if you believe in generational curses, do you think it stems all the way from there? Is it learned, or can it also be genetic?
I think it's
I think
both.
it's definite. Yeah, it's definitely both, right? Because even if you think about a child, when you have a child, it's an exact replica of the father and the mom, right? So that's everything. That's the trauma they've been through. That's their, emotions. Like even if, let's say, we look at like addiction, if you have a parent who was addicted to something, their child is 4 times more likely to be addicted, whether the child is in the home or not, right? So if you just look at us as whole beings, we are exact replicas. So that's going to mean that our parents, our grandparents, they had certain tendencies that we're going to be predisposed to, right? And I know they talk about like nature versus nurture. So environment does play a role, but genetics play a huge role as well. Like if you look at me and my father, I wasn't around my father growing up, but we are one and the same. Like we ain't started really talking till I got to college, but we are one and the same. And a lot of that is due to genetics. A lot of things that I struggle with because like addiction runs in my family. So naturally I'm going to be more prone to have addictive behaviors, whether that was, drinking, gambling, all of that stuff is passed down through genetics, even down to our thought process, right? How we think, how we see certain things, how we make our decisions. Like so many of that things I believe is definitely genetic.
That's fair. So, Slim, are generational curses real? And if so, how do we overcome them?
They're definitely real, right? So I think if you're looking to overcome something, is to be able to identify what it is that your family or your generation is dealing with. I think that right now what we're seeing with millennials and our generation, we kind of like are on the cusp, is we have access to information. We're sharing a lot more stories where before in our families, it was whatever went on in your house stayed in your house, right? So we didn't even know that these things were happening in other households to know that it was an issue. Sometimes you don't recognize them because this is what you know, this is what your family does, this is what your grandma did, this is what your mom did. And so that's how, it continues. And I think that we're seeing such a large turn with the millennial generation because we have access to the information. We have access to Black people didn't go to therapy. It wasn't even a thing that we even thought of, right? And so now because it's something that we either have access to or we're learning through other people's shared stories, through social media, through internet. Toxic is a big word that's used every day. Oh, that's toxic. That's narcissistic. People are learning these things from just hearing and sharing stories. So I think the way that you would fix it is just identifying it. You can't fix something that you don't know is an issue, right? So identifying it and making a conscious effort to want to change, to unlearn behaviors that you learned, and being able to
Like,
do
what
something different.
though? Like what though? So you're saying
Like an
like
example,
we're saying we're learning more, but what are we doing better now? Like, are we getting more money in school, but we're still killing each other? Our kids are not. So I think our generation kind of came up, but Generation Z, I don't know if you watch TV or I mean, these motherfuckers is are different.
generation. I
So
don't
how
know
do
the
we?
generation. Is that after?
Yeah, you ain't Z. Trust me. Old ass, you ain't Z.
Yeah,
So
That's our current our high schoolers and
yeah,
like
high
young college
schoolers.
students.
It's like it's after 97, I believe, 96 or 97.
so
Um
it's like my children.
yeah, and I think mine are. So that generation is just out of sorts. Coaching football in the school. I mean, the drugs, all they rappers, our rappers were drug dealers, not drug users.
Right.
Their rappers are drug users. So Sean, I think a lot of good points made, but Sean, how do we overcome curses? Because it looks like we're doing better, but then we look at the children and it doesn't seem as such. We had 230 murders in DC this year.
Oh, to
So how do
everybody's
we
point,
overcome these curses? Mm-hmm.
to everybody's point, it's acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement, and more to what Slim said. You can't heal what you never reveal. You can quote Hove
Mm-hmm.
on that, right? You can't. You can't recover from. If we don't,
Yeah.
if we don't vocalize what our issues are, what we learned our issues to be, they will make the same mistakes, but even greater now because they have more flexibility and freedom to fuck up a lot more.
Yeah.
They coming into a time where they don't have to be well-rounded individuals at 25 to be employed, to be any of that. They can pop pills, smoke dope, do what they want to do, and it should be expected as norm. I just watched the Juice World documentary. I think it's on HBO. That shit was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Cuz was 19, popping everything, smoking everything, crack, PCP, 19.
So
He
yeah.
says in the documentary, like, I suffered from trauma and my dad this and my mom that,
Uh-huh.
but that's acknowledgement.
But
But where do we go
yeah.
from to improve? You got to be able to have a
Yeah.
conversation.
or being able to have an outlet as well, right? So
well, hold on. I'm not getting the answer to the second part of the question. I get it, right? We are acknowledging that's the first step in AA, right? Is to admit that you have a problem, right? But my question specifically is how do we overcome them? We're saying we acknowledge it. All right. So were you starting to say have the conversation? Because now we need action. See, black people are so good at protesting, right? Because we're great at marketing, right? But marketing ain't the product. It tells you about the product, right? So now what's the product to all this hooting and hollering that we always doing? And now the fact that a couple motherfuckers go to therapy, so now we act like therapy is popular in our community when it's still not.
well, generational
It's
curses can
leadership,
be many
man. It's
things. Like,
leadership. We don't have leadership.
Well, hold on. Let me go to P because I don't think he commented on it yet. So P, I'm not saying you got to have all the answers, but I need one.
I mean, well, that goes back to another conversation. It's all about accountability. Therapy's not like therapy is great, right? It's awesome. It's amazing. But you have to want to do therapy. You have to want to do the work. It's not something that's just gonna. The answer to your question is not gonna be like, oh, we have to do this. No, you have to put action to something. So yes, you can acknowledge you have a problem. You can acknowledge there's a generational curse. And what you were talking about earlier, I think the term is post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother story.
Why you do your neck like that?
Because
he got to get the emphasis on it.
Yeah.
I know
why. But I mean, but to answer your, like, to be serious about it, like, there has to be some action on the individual's part. And the reason why you see all these murders and these homicides and all this, these kids popping pills, that's self-medicating, right? When we were growing up, you got your ass beat to the point where you were suffocating, trying to cry, but you couldn't let out a sound. And then you came back from it, right? Now we've gotten to the generation where we can get therapy. It's our generation that's starting the therapy. It's our generation that's doing the work.
Right.
But that's not going to take care of these kids that now have kids. So these kids that are doing the shooting don't have OGs. They are the OGs. They said, fuck them niggas. We gonna kill them, right? Everything's about status. Our hood niggas or our, murder mommies, whatever you want to call them, had somebody they looked up to. They had a street mentor. There was a code of ethics. They don't have that now because there's nobody raising them. And so, yes, it's great that we're going to do our therapy, but if you want to reach those kids, you're going to have to find somebody to see what they hold on to. And most of the time, it's money. Most of the time, they're focused on getting out of whatever situation. They don't see it as an issue with them. The answer to their situation, all their problems is going to be money. How can I get money to do what I need to do?
Yeah. But when your generational curses could be many things. It could be financial, right? Like, so it could be something as simple as your parents never budgeted. They were renters their entire life. They never had credit cards. They didn't know how to manage money. They didn't know how to take advantage of finances. That could be a generational curse. That could be something. So it's not always just like, things that happen in the Black community. This is something that happens amongst everyone. It could be something as simple. I think I talked about before, whooping your kids. I choose not to hit on my kids. I think that's something that was taught through slavery. I think that it's a slave mentality. I think that I should be able to communicate with my kids effectively. And it shouldn't be because I'm frustrated that now the only thing that I could do is slap my kids around because I'm mad. Because that's all it is. When you hit your kids, it's because you're so frustrated, you don't have anything else to do and it's a quick fix. And you don't want to waste the time or energy to talk to them, right? So I choose not to hit my kids. I know a few other Blacks choose not to hit their kids. And that's a part of breaking a generational curse. So it's so many, it depends on what it is that you're trying to break.
Yeah, we can pinpoint, right?
Bad.
Yeah.
Like their kids are bad. No, I'm like, their kids bad. Sometimes it's not always just about slapping your kids around. Sometimes there has to be, like, you're gonna get those hard-headed boys, especially that need something immediate gratification, immediate consequence. I was one of them kids. Like, you can't just take away my stuff. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna get it back. Hurt me so that I can be like, oh, okay. Like, I have to sit and think about that.
Well, because you were getting it back means that they didn't follow through with the punishment because you were getting it back, so they didn't follow through.
No, I mean, so you got the kids that have there's ample resources, right? If I wasn't gonna get it from my mom took something away from me, I already knew who I'm calling. My grandmother, hey. Grandfather, hey. I got in trouble. I'm gonna get talked to. I'm going to get what I need.
Yeah.
So
But
that doesn't work.
yeah, so I guess breaking that pattern would be people being on a united front. Like if I'm the mother, if he calls you, don't give my son anything. I'm the one that makes the rules, whatever. He's not. So it's just follow through. That didn't happen. So it was immediate to just whoop your ass and then be done because you knew that you had other outlets. If you stop all of that and you really follow through, which it takes a lot more work to follow through with kids than it is to just whoop them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody got time to keep talking to kids. It's easier to just hit them. Shut your ass up. Do what I said. Like it's easier. We know that. But if we want to break generational curses, which is the topic of conversation, if we want to break generational curses and not beat on your kids and create additional trauma, you have
that's
to
subjective though.
find another way.
And that's the point.
But I
So
think
that's not. It's only a curse if it's negative.
Yeah, exactly. So P saying that's subjective, right? Physical punishment at some extent is effective, right? That's why it did exist, right? So that's something now. For a long time, right? We are financially illiterate, right? So those are. I remember you acknowledge that one. So those are the things that we can remedy at a macro level, right? Spankings are not spankings. That's too subjective, and we can't say it's not effective, right? Necessarily, right? Does it have PTSD associated with it?
It's just saying that it might cause additional harm, or they're not really getting the lesson.
But also, we saw white kids, because I'm not talking about them. I noticed you said everybody. I don't give a damn about everybody, right? But even white kids, you take away his PlayStation, he gonna kill the whole house. So now, right? What
do that.
Right? But that's a stereotype, right? So
that's a stereotype. But those kids a lot of times are emotionally neglected and left in the house by themselves.
Right?
Mom's gone.
But you said take his stuff so you don't traumatize him in a particular way. Johnny come through the house spraying everything because he want to play Fortnite. Right?
Johnny also is able to keep his door closed, and we ain't keeping no fucking door closed in our house. So there's certain rules. Johnny's able to build a bomb in his room because he has privacy.
Yeah, no, I understand, but just remember, when we try to broaden the brush, it gets too convoluted, right? Yeah. Like, so one thing I would say is the school to prison pipeline is an actual thing, right? When you go to county jail or you go to prison, they have yellow lines on the floor. Right. When I go to my daughter's school, there's yellow lines on the floor, and you stay to the right or you stay to the left. The same thing. Lunch is the same thing, right? What you can wear and not wear, same thing, right? And then what we're taught in the school does not benefit us by and large, right? And so these things really feed these money makers, right? And I think that that's something that we can maybe effectuate change in some of this generational bullshit. So those are the type of answers I'm looking for. I got good ideas, but goddamn, we need to put something on paper and put some action to something.
I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult because, as we spoke about maybe a few episodes ago, there's no accountability. If we don't hold any leaders accountable for their actions, then who's supposed to be the authority? There should be leaders. So I know everybody wants to be their own boss. Everybody want to be their own man, their own woman, but there should be leaders. That's how you grow. But we have no growth because we have no leaders, and we're losing more and more of them because Gen Z behind us don't listen to us, right? They don't listen to us. Now you tripping, old school, right? Somebody called me old school like a couple weeks ago on the court. Old school. You tripping, old school. I couldn't even play with the youngest. I'm like, man, I can't even get down. But they don't listen to us. So if they don't listen to us, we supposed to be leading them. But we got to be able to be strong enough to take their criticism, to take their negativity, and keep moving forward and giving them positive message. And that's difficult, right? Because fuck you, old school, whatever. Nah, nigga, shut up. Listen, like we still got to be able to engage and counter, but we don't because it's like, man, they ain't listening to us. I ain't talking to them no more.
You brought up
nobody learns.
I think the Gen Z are more emotionally in tune than we were, though.
They have no coping skills.
I think the Gen Z, I think it is they're more emotionally in tune than what we were. They're definitely
What do you mean by in tune?
So, for example, like it was in our era, for example, like we used to have roast sessions, right? You go to lunch table, you could light somebody's ass to smithereens. You could talk about their mother as long as they were alive. you could do that. It wasn't bullying. It was, that's just what you do. It's a part of culture. It was just a part of, but these people are like, no, you have to consider other people's feelings. And that's amongst the kids of the Gen Z. They consider other people's feelings, right? So in our generation, we didn't hug. We weren't emotionally in tune with other people. We didn't tell each other. I'm sure that you guys have said, you know what, Sean, I love you, or Hamp, I love. That didn't happen until right now. That the Gen Z are doing that now, where they're expressing their emotions more. They're telling each other they love each other more. That wasn't something of the '90s culture or '80s culture.
And you think that's
So
better?
I think it's absolutely better.
I would disagree and say they're more dysregulated. Like they lead by emotion, right? So it's everything is hurt. It hurts my feelings. I'm so sensitive. I
It
can't
is
say this.
extreme. It is
So then it
extreme.
becomes this thing where it's like, now, can some of our environments when we were growing up been labeled toxic nowadays? Absolutely. I can
Absolutely.
give you a whole Facebook message and thread about some shit that probably get me fired because like it is what it is, right? But now we live in a society where you can't say shit
Yeah, it's
because it's going
cancel
to offend somebody. Therefore,
Right.
these people can't, excuse me, these kids don't, they have no resiliency, right? I don't know how to withstand tough times because I'm being taught that, oh my God, you hurt my feelings. Stop. We're going to stop everything. Everything revolves around how I feel as a person. I don't think that they care about how other people feel. It's about I'm being offended and I don't know how to do anything. So we shall shut the hell up.
Well, I
And
think it's just a matter of them leveling it out. So now we have this group of people that they're now in tune with their emotions. So now that it's going to have to be leveled out. So there was us where
Yeah.
we were latchkey kids. We did what we wanted. We took care of ourselves, and we didn't really think about other people because it was only us to depend on. So it has to be evened out. It's going to happen with the next generation, whatever comes after Gen Z. But they are in tune with their emotions, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just can't be as extreme as it is today.
The question on that, and I want to ask Q. Q, do you think they're in tune with their emotion, or do you think they're emotional?
I think that they're more emotional than they are in tune with their emotions. I think that you have to know who you are to be in tune with your emotions. And I think that just even with some of the stuff you guys were speaking about before and the question you said you weren't getting an answer to, I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest part of that breaking that generational curse is identity. What do you identify as, and who do you know yourself to be, right? So it's like if you identify as the byproduct of all the trauma you've experienced,
Mm-hmm.
then that's who you are. So if you don't put in that work to really get to know who you are as a person, do you identify as a goddess, do you identify as a king or a queen, those types of things, then you're just going to kind of follow in that same path, and maybe be the byproduct of everything that you've experienced in your childhood, which is then when you see 16-year-old mothers happening again, and young men going to jail the way that their fathers did happening again, because they don't even know who they are. But
I think that's real. So, kind of. So, do you agree with P's point? Like they need more guidance, or do you think that Slim is correct in saying, that they have access to more things, and they can see more things and know what what's the shit does when you go to therapy, things of that nature. Like, what do you think? Is it a leveling out, or do we need to get back to maybe something more from back in the day?
yeah, I think there needs to be more guidance. I know I grew up in the generation where there was like that OG vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be 12 going around a bunch of even like 18-year-olds at that time, and they may be smoking cigarettes and drinking. And you try to put your mouth on somebody's cup or somebody's cigarette, you're going to get checked. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now, you might have 18-year-olds be more inclined to not only drinking with the 12-year-olds, but probably even having sex with the 12-year-olds. So they don't have that same filter. But as far as like, resources like things like therapy, I feel like anytime somebody can get paid off of something and capitalize on it, it may not be in the best interest of the people.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Adrian, I wanted to ask because alluded to, everything is toxic now. Kind of what Pierre's saying, right? You can't say shit. Obviously, the Karen movement. We took advantage of it after God bless the dead. They killed George Floyd. I know I took advantage of it. People were scared to bother black people. In that what 5 month span, you know. So but is it going too far with calling everything toxic? Masculinity's toxic, right? Cancel culture. Like, is this shit like too normal now to where it's being detrimental?
Yeah, definitely. It's where everything is fake. Everything is watered down. You gotta be, and then it's like even with people who trying to rise, like you trying to build your brand, you trying to take care of your family. So you gotta be mindful of so many different things to where it's like, hey, if you want to be successful, this is the path that you have to follow to a T, and else or else you're not gonna be successful. If you offend anybody who like gay or transgender, like it's a wrap. We're gonna try to kind of take you out of there. So it's definitely watered down, and we just need people who are like nobody's true to themselves anymore. People so quick to bend to every little thing. That's why I rock with you, Ham, since forever. Because one thing about you, you're gonna be the same no matter what, no matter what. But a lot of people are not like that, man. They will bend quickly. We are so afraid to offend people, and I don't even know how we get back. I don't even know if it's even possible. I think with social media and like the lack of privacy that we have now, so your eyes are always on you. You're always being like recorded, or so much information is constantly being like put in your face that I don't even see if as a whole if we ever get back to that to where we see more genuineness when people are not afraid to be who they are and stand on their own morals and principles and not be willing to just bend the things because society says we have to.
I think you got to have people taking a stand, man. Like Dave Chappelle's last stand up.
He said what he said.
Like you got to be able to. I'm gonna stand on it. It's what I said. It's how I feel. I'm not being offensive. It's just how I view things. My opinion. But once you start having people be unapologetic about it, then it'll trickle down. But that has to come from somebody with some influence or something like that, right? And in a way where it's genuine, where it's not derogatory. But the emotional state of people, its sensitivity levels are rising. I mean, you got potentially speech legislation on what you can and can't say in the near future, right? Like that's the only way to get past that is to have somebody unapologetic, just giving it up genuinely and not in a negative way, trying to deteriorate another person or something like that.
Yeah. I wish we can get back to where it's kind of okay to feel how you feel. But we cannot voice all of our opinions, and that's why I named it This Might Be Risky, because any little thing, we had a video that got flagged because we mentioned the jab, right? From what we talked about can't P, I'm trying to articulate it, but you can't like say the words, about people got sick, and then will we remedy it if they didn't have the jab, right? So right, because
you're definitely being regulated, right? So we know that everything's being regulated. You can't say certain things because people have a certain agenda. So if you have a platform and now this is your platform, you can't say what you want to say anymore when you're using these social platforms, which is new. It's a new experience. Where before, if we had a conversation, you say whatever you wanted. It wasn't being recorded. It's not being regulated, so you can say whatever you want to say. Even if you're a comedian, you're putting it on VHS. It's not something that somebody has control over. Once it's recorded, that's it. It's on the tape.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. But it's ironic, right? Like we're just having a conversation, right? Actually spitting some facts, bringing some opinion, but intellectual conversation, right? And then they're like, "Oh, well, you said something that we didn't like based on what's out there currently, right?" Which was not even true. But then every music video on YouTube, that shit, the Wild Wild West. They doing all. We had to wait for BET Uncut.
Yeah.
Remember
Right?
that? The good days.
Yeah, you be
Off
waiting.
hour.
You be
I ain't
waiting,
got no
baby.
panties on. Come on,
Yeah,
what?
you be
Right.
waiting till with baby oil in your hand and all. You could YouTube any video, Pornhub.com, right? Shout out to them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the
Yeah,
internet is crazy now.
kids have access. Like you had to wait if you had a what is it? Like the box. You had to watch porn through like the little grace, like what
Squigglies,
is it?
yeah.
Yeah, the little squigglies. You
The
might be able
squiggly
to see a
lines.
little
What? See a
something.
little titty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might see a little something. Like kids can now
Channel
just find
99.
porn. Yeah.
I mean, forget
Yeah.
access to it. The kids are recording it and sending it. So I would clearly work in a school. They airdropped a sex tape to the entire school, and like to the
Crazy.
point where the principal, like the staff, had to be like, "Turn this shit off," because we're getting it, and
Yeah.
it's nothing to them. And every time I have to tell one of my young boys, like, you know, this is child pornography, and you can go to jail for that, right? They're like, "No, we can't."
Yeah.
No, yes, you can. This is child.
Yeah.
You're a child, but this is still
Or
child
then get you in
pornography.
trouble. Yeah. That's crazy,
Yeah.
man. So, final thoughts on generational curses, how we can overcome them. Do they still exist? How about that? Do we agree that generational? Damn, I cannot say that. Alex, say it for me.
Generational.
Damn, you got this
Generational
shit out. You were just saying acts last week. Okay, you done read a
Listen,
book
listen.
or two.
My English is where it needs to be, okay?
Right. You know, do we all agree that they still certainly exist and still affect us?
They exist, they affect us, they, you know, just be mindful and do what you can to, if you see something that's happening in your family that you don't like, do your best to unlearn that and make better decisions. And that's all we can do.
Yeah. Agreed. Listen, awesome show. I think this dialogue here, this needs to be taken by Al Sharpton. He need to post it and shut his fucking mouth. Right. So we can give him something of substance, old ass big head motherfucker. Right. Because he been leading us for a long time and we ain't got shit from him. I apologize. I just you know what I mean? Like enough is enough, right? To your point, Sean. You know, Jesse still got hoes and he in a walker. Like,
put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him out.
Come on, man. It's not
This
a
is why
thing.
this
you
is
know
why
what
we
I'm
get
saying?
flagged. This is why we get flagged.
Jesse
No,
Jackson
they
and
black.
Al Sharpton comments.
Yeah, B, they black, so we could talk about them. You know how that goes. They don't care. Now you mentioned Martha Stewart in this motherfucker, you in trouble. You know. Speaking of Martha Stewart, I don't
Now
really
she
like
one of us now.
Is she? Oh, she went to jail. She went to jail, right?
And
So listen, I don't really mess with Jerry Springer, but I do like one of his constructs. So
Don't let nobody spit in your face. That's nasty. COVID, not COVID. That's not.
That is not a thing.
You can't heal what you never reveal.
Who said that?
Oh.
Don't lead anyone or anything blindly. And do the best that you can. Correct where you can.
I'll say make sure you're taking the time to really understand yourself, understand where you are at, and if you do need help, there's never wrong with asking for help and reaching out to a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say don't be afraid to question things and do the research for yourself.
At the end of the day, Google is your best friend. Know how to fact check. I'll echo what everyone else said. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, take chances, make mistakes, get messy like Miss Frizzle, and make good choices.
Indeed. Awesome show tonight. I feel like everybody learned a lot. I feel like we can walk away from this particular show with some homework. You know, we all agree that the generational curses do exist, but ourselves, you know, great at, you know, but then what do we do next? Don't let nobody spit in your goddamn face. All right. If your mom spit in your face, we're gonna have to see something. All right. I love my mom to death. But Avery spit on me, church bells and slow songs. Period. So like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and we out.